Hello and welcome to a very special episode of State of the Franchise, a podcast that talks about franchises of all shapes, sizes, backgrounds, genres, and types. I am one of your hosts, Tom Stadler, here with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Fred Dakin, the jolliest man in the gland.
It's the holiday season, so whoopty-doo and jiggly-puff, and don't forget to put on your socks.
You actually took a bit of mine that I was totally playing up. I was going to define, like, if you're not familiar with the holidays, it's the holiday season with the whoop-de-doo. So I've always thought that he said, so whoop-de-doo, but he says with the whoop-de-doo. And I was kind of like, but it's funnier that he says so whoop-de-doo. Like, so what?
He's like, the Christmas with the whoop-de-doo and whatnot.
And the whoop-de-not, yeah. What is he kind of like, what's his name? With, like, the old Cosby bit. So, Fred, obviously the holidays are a very special time of year for everybody, whether they are background of celebrating Christmas or Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, you name it. Everyone has their own festivities that they celebrate. But I think maybe just to kick us off, what do the holidays mean to you?
Well, the holidays for me has always been a time of excitement. I think you were there at my wedding. My mom even mentioned me liking Christmas in her toast about me. And right. I was like, it made it into the wedding. And so, like, for me, definitely, let's just get this out of the way. I grew up in a small town.
Oh, boy.
And I was just thinking about this today, and it kind of made me sad and blew my mind. My knowledge of other religions, let's say, like, or other holidays, I should say, like Hanukkah, I only knew from the Adam Sandler song on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
Or South Park clips. That was my knowledge of other, like, holidays. Like, that it had to come later. Like, it was never taught in, like, my small town. Like, I'm pretty sure I grew up and Santa Claus was, like, he pretty much came to our school. He didn't literally, but, like, we would sing Christmas songs, and, like, it was definitely very, I don't know. It was one note and everyone was one way. And till I got older, didn't really get to appreciate all the different holidays. And so now it means a lot more than it once did. But definitely to me growing up, it was all about Christmas.
Absolutely. And I think, honestly, we had a very similar kind of circulation in my school district, too. It was very Christmas-centric, but we did have a pretty significant Jewish population. So Hanukkah was always kind of a thing. In fact, one of my best friends when I was 6 years old was Jewish. So I remember going over there when I was like 6 for Hanukkah and just being like, whoa, this is like so different than Christmas. And it was kind of an exposure from an earlier age of like, oh, Christmas isn't the only thing out there. And I think while I didn't entirely resonate at that moment, I did remember, though, just kind of being like, you know what? It's not just a time for, Santa and everything else, even though I've totally thought, and spoiler alert for everybody out there, that Santa was not real.
Oh, he lives within your heart, but, like, whatever.
Yeah, well, hopefully our listeners covered their children's ears if they were within earshot of our podcast when talking about that.
That's just Tom Santa. That's not me. You can still come by. I still got the cookies out for you. Don't worry about it.
If you believe, Fred, then I will be real.
Did Brad Garrett just walk into here?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's me all along, Raymond. So, just to give a little bit of history about the word holiday. Not necessarily about Christmas, not necessarily about any other holiday out there, but a holiday is defined as a day set aside by custom or law on which normal activities, especially business or work, including school, are suspended or reduced. Generally, holidays are intended to allow individuals to celebrate or commemorate an event or tradition of cultural religious significance. The word holiday itself actually comes from an Old English word, holidag. It sounds exactly how it sounds, holy day. The word originally referred to a special religious day, and the modern use kind of varies geographically depending on what you do, because obviously the Brits refer to going on vacation as going on holiday.
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm. And so in North America, obviously, it means that any day dedicated to a period of celebration. And there are so many holidays out there that are worth celebrating. And it's a wonderful time for everybody. So, wherever you are and whatever you're celebrating, we wish you happy holidays.
And I think it also and I'm not sure about our other holidays other than Hanukkah or Christmas. I don't know about like Kwanzaa when that takes place, but it also probably has something to do with just the end of the year. It's kind of like a wrap up of everything and almost kind of like a time off of the year everyone has had, all the work, all the life problems. Because I always found it fascinating that although there's two separate holidays, they're around the same time. Like it's going on at the end of the year. So I think there's something to that.
Well, yeah, and I think it does kind of have, the origination in pagan traditions, right, too, where they were celebrating the pagan tradition of Saturnalia, held in mid-December, is an ancient Roman pagan festival honoring the agricultural god Saturn as the conclusion of the harvest and near the winter solstice.
When I think of like pagan Christmas, I think of those like badass pictures of Santa where he's like a woodsman just like walking and he's got a staff. Have you ever seen any art like that where it's like, this is like Gandalf Santa?
Oh, I feel like I have kind of seen that. Yeah, like the very old version of Santa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of a source of where Christmas comes from, but also kind of where I think a lot of the religions found that. But obviously Hanukkah has its own history with, needing to make the candles last for 8 days with the oil that they had left, or I think it was the oil that were in the candles at the time. I learned all that from Rugrats.
Oh, really?
My friends.
See, my mom didn't give me TV, and I would have been much more cultured if I had access to Rugrats.
But we also can't neglect that Jehovah's Witnesses do not celebrate. I think they celebrate the death of Jesus this time of year, or it's like they honor the death of Jesus, but they don't celebrate it.
I have a friend who's Jehovah's Witness, and they like definitely go to church, and they'll like, no, we don't give gifts. Now there's something in your room.
They scoot it with a foot. I don't know what that is. But yeah. And so there's so many traditions out there that we want to honor, but really, I think we want to just talk about some of the best parts of the holidays. And Fred, I know one of the things that we wanted to really get into was talking about some of the highlights for us over the years celebrating our respective holidays, which I believe for both of us was Christmas.
Yes, it is.
Yes. I'm just confirming that I also celebrated Christmas growing up. So what were some of your best gifts that you received, if you had to give maybe like a top 3 or 5?
Well, I'll say I just want to give you the breakdown of the situation of the Christmas morning for the gifts.
Sure.
It was usually my cousin would stay over with my aunt and uncle at our house at the farm, and we'd alternate between the houses. So it'd be Christmas Eve, everyone's staying overnight. And around 4 a.m, we knew we could like wake up our grandparents, and they were kind of like the ambassadors to the adults. Like we can send them in to see if it's cool to wake up yet. And like we'd be like pacing in my grandparents' room, and my grandpa would come back and be like, no, they need another hour of sleep. We need to go back. And then eventually we'd be waiting at the top of the steps, and it would take them forever to make the coffee. Did you ever have that? Where you couldn't come look at the gifts till the coffee was made?
Yep.
And you don't get that until you get older. Like, I don't have kids. I haven't had this experience, but, like, I get it. Like, they were just down there, like, getting the coffee, just getting juiced for us.
Yeah.
And the 2 gifts that really stand out for me that when we came down the stairs to see was one year we all got, like, really baller sleds. Like, they looked like snowmobile size for a kid. And we had a little hill by our house, so it was something that we could get into right away. And I don't want to sound like super basic, but I think my number one gift that I'll always remember getting was the Nintendo 64.
Oh, man.
Because we never got any other systems until the N64. We weren't allowed. It was forbidden. But this was the first one, and we didn't even know about it. We opened it up. It was the bundle with Super Mario. And it opened the floodgates for the games the rest of the time. And it was just a glorious moment.
Yeah.
Now, what about you, Tom?
Oh, well, I mean, I certainly respect the sled game. That is a very fun activity to have as a kid, first and foremost, but then
And dangerous.
Yeah.
That's how Casper died. He got a sled on Christmas.
but didn't he just like hang out in the cold for too long and catch pneumonia?
Because he was having so much fun on his sled. That is a direct quote. He was having so much fun, he
See,
got pneumonia.
He's the alternate like reality of Citizen Kane, right? Like
I was going to say, like, sleds kind of have a bad omen. Like, there's something going on there. And they're very intense, but very fun.
I think that sleds are only worthwhile in the right, responsible hands.
Yeah.
And or,
You wouldn't just get rid of all sleds, is what you're saying? Like,
no, I wouldn't just outright ban sleds, but I would say responsible use of sleds is sensible sled control is really what I'm after.
Okay.
So the N64 is also a great pick, though, Fred, because I would say perhaps my most memorable gift was, in fact, also the first video game system in my household when I was about 5 years old. So again, around the same time that I had this other friend down the street celebrating a different holiday than me. And kind of learning all about this, because I was also learning about a whole different brand as well. I had cousins who had the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I was like, wow, that's quite the system. But then something else came along. I remember I was walking through Sam's Club with my mom, and there was a big screen TV kind of hung up real high, about maybe 10 feet in the air or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody could watch it. And there was a little blue character running around on it.
Oh, man.
And I remember waiting in line to kind of go up and try this game, and it was a Sega Genesis. It was just on sale that year. And I remember turning to my mom and being like, I don't need any other gifts this year. I just want that Sega Genesis. And Christmas morning came along, and kind of like you, I would be very antsy on Christmas morning, but it was usually just my sister and I. I mean, we had family over the night before. We've always had a tradition with my mom's family of celebrating Christmas Eve, or we would get a couple gifts then from my grandparents or whatnot, and then... But Christmas morning, everybody was out of the house, or whoever we were at, we always ended up back at my parents'. So it's just my sister and I, and we would get up, and I remember I would go and wake her up first and be like, "You ready? Are you ready?" And she would always be kind of ready and raring just as soon as she realized what was going on, because she's the heaviest sleeper right now. Yeah, I do remember going out though in the living room that morning, and my mom was like, "We're going to open a few gifts, and then there's one for you." And I was like, oh boy. And sure enough, I got that Sega Genesis, and I loved that thing so much. And I was very sad to learn years later, my parents were having a garage sale, they just casually gave that away, because I had a PlayStation at that point. I didn't need a Sega anymore.
Hey.
Oh, so sad. But alas, I will always have the memory of getting that Sega and playing Sonic the Hedgehog and mastering that game like no other.
That's like your Roseberry.
Yeah, my Roseberry. Wait, Rosebud?
It's Rosebud. I was trying to think of some funny way to get it wrong, and that was the best I could think of.
I mean, Fred, I think I know you got to go fast, but maybe that was too fast.
I'm no Sonic.
Yeah. Well, the second gift, though, Fred, if I had to just pick two, kind of sound like Steve Martin doing the sketch. If I had one Christmas wish this year. But the second one was just as I was getting out of college. So it's sort of a combo Christmas gift, college graduation gift. And so I went to the University of Wisconsin, go Badgers. And they were going to the Rose Bowl for the first time in, I think, about 10, 15 years at that point. And Rose Bowl, very famous stadium that's located in Pasadena, California. Obviously not a cheap trip if you want to go out to south of LA.
Right.
But yeah, I've talked to my parents. Again, kind of same deal. Like, I don't need any other gifts this year. It's just as long as I can go to the Rose Bowl, I will buy my own ticket. I just need to get out there. And sure enough, Christmas morning came along. All we got was some Badger t-shirts, and they said, all right, we're going to the Rose Bowl.
Nice.
Yep. And so, yeah, we planned that, and then we left on, I think it was like the week before New Year's Day. Or it was like right after Christmas then, it must have been. So it was fun. The Badgers lost, which was very not fun, but But still, a very memorable vacation and a wonderful Christmas gift that's not too traditional. You just a trip. So, yeah, so that's my gift list, Fred. And if you guys have any gifts out there that you want to share with us this year, we'd be happy to read those on.
Yeah,
our
we'll
next
take your
episode.
gifts.
Yeah, please send us your favorite gifts to stateofthefranchisepodcast@gmail.com or drop us a line on Instagram at State of the Franchise or find us on Facebook at State of the Franchise with Fred and Tom. So, gifts are always a classic part of Christmas, Fred, but there's another classic part of Christmas that I know you've been itching to talk about, and that is the treats.
Ooh, I love some treats.
And I know you had a wonderful idea this year, Fred, to do a show and tell.
Yeah, so I am a very easy mark with all sorts of marketing that is geared towards holidays or film and television. If you've got a product with like a rosy cheek Santa like doing his business on it, I want it. Like I'm very easy. And I've just noticed there's a lot of crazy holiday products that come out around this time.
Wow.
And so I thought we could do like a show and tell of some products that we've seen, as well as something else that's pretty special, but maybe we'll get to that soon.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to you unpacking it right now.
All right. So I went to the store today, and I probably should have gone to the store like 2 weeks ago because I got to say there was a lot more stuff. The new trend with Christmas is everything kind of comes and goes before Christmas is even gone. So I got this stuff. A lot of this stuff was clearance already. First thing I got is some Elf on the Shelf sugar cookie cereal with marshmallows.
Wow.
Have you ever heard of Elf on a Shelf? Well, I don't know. I didn't have
Now
anything
it's
after that.
cereal in a bowl?
Yeah. There you go. So I'm going to just put these here. We can maybe try these after the pod because these are a little harder to...
Or we'll have our special assistant. We have a friend of the pod, Jasmine Gonzalez, sitting in the room with us right now. Who is just here to enjoy snacks. Oh, I was going to let you open this. Wow. So
Yeah, welcome to open. I just didn't know if we wanted I don't know. Cereal was a weird one to start with. I was like, I don't know if people are milk people. I'm kind of a dry guy when it comes to cereal.
Oh, I don't mind just trying a little cereal with my hands. But
why don't you take the honors, Tom?
I like that there is like a little comic on the back of this thing. They say they eat fine desserts like cookies and cakes, but the best treat of all is the one Mrs. Claus makes. She uses a gadget unique in design to create elf-sized cereal that's simply divine.
That is nice. See, that's the kind of stuff I like.
See, I didn't even know that was going to rhyme. I just kind of pretended it was going to, and then it did.
Now, I feel Elf on the Shelf is definitely after our time, right?
So,
it's, like, we've seen it, but I was like a teenager by the time I saw Elf on the Shelf.
So, can we talk about that for a little bit? Because I know this is something that we've even talked about a little bit, Jasmine and I, of Elf on the Shelf. People are like, this is a long-lasting tradition. It's like, this thing is less than 10 years old, right?
It's got, I'd say, like 13 years. I'm going to peg it at, like, OG Avatar.
Oh, good call. Good call.
Yeah, like, I feel around that time I was seeing Elf on the Shelf stuff.
All right.
Oh, he's looking into it.
Oh,
For me, with my family, we kind of had something that was a little smaller and cool. We got a book called Synonymous. And it was a story about a little mouse that hung out with Santa and helped him deliver presents. So we would put a little cheese in the tree for Santa Mouse.
Ooh.
And there'd be a little gift in there from Santa Mouse.
Was that a book?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We read the book, and we got it Christmas Eve.
Okay.
We read the book, we put the cheese in the tree, and then we got the little gifts.
Okay, because I think I remember that. Yeah. Sorry, I was munching on cereal, so I think I missed the part where you said, I read this book. And then but the cereal reminds me of... Did you guys ever have alphabets?
Yes.
That's what it makes me think of right now.
So I will say... Mm-hmm. I don't love this just because I'm not getting a good sugar cookie taste.
Yeah.
I did have something that I was going to get another box of, and I don't know if anyone wants any more. I'm closing it up.
Elf on the Shelf, by the way, is 2005.
I was
Picture
pretty
book.
close.
So
4
we're
years
on
off.
17 years of that now. That's a decent length of time, but when does something become a classic? Does it need to be over 10 years old? 20?
I think 10 is what you want. I will say, I think Elf on the Shelf, though, is going to be, like, known for by the meme now. Like you've heard on Elf on the Shelf. Now this is
Scruff and a McGruff?
yeah, a scruff on a buff. I don't know. Like, I'm not killing it right now, but
That's okay.
that joke is like everywhere.
Yeah, I have
And
seen it.
I feel that's even bigger than the Elf on the Shelf.
Ants on some
Whole thing.
pants or something, yeah.
Yeah, some ants on some pants.
Yeah.
There's some cheeky ones out there. You could have a good time.
Oh, some cheeky ones with some ants on some pants? So, Fred, I went with a more traditional approach to this. Not just a holiday time, but a holiday treat that we've come to enjoy over the last couple of years. And it's a very a classic Belgian recipe, I believe, is stroopwafel. And stroopwafel... Oh, I'm sorry. It's Netherlands. I'm sorry. So it's Dutch. It's a Dutch, not Belgian. I'm sorry. But it says the authentic Dutch stroopwafels. If I had just read on like 2 more words, then I would have seen it. But stroopwafels are like miniature waffles that are filled with like a little bit of caramel in the middle, and they kind of taste a little vanilla with a little bit of cinnamon. It's delicious. And Fred, I'm going to let you do the honors of looking at this. You can pass that on too if you like. But I think we first became aware of stroopwafels through Great British Bake Off. Am I wrong? So in case the mic didn't pick that up, Jasmine said she had a coworker on vacation who might have brought home some stroopwafel from the Netherlands. And stroopwafel, yeah, very classic recipe. But always now makes me think of Christmas because I think we've only really eaten it around the holiday time. And Fred, I'm curious about your thoughts on the stroopwafel.
I'll tell you what stroopwafel makes me think of. When I was in high school, my mom was, a single person at that time. And I'm going to put this out here. She was free to date whoever she wanted. She was a person. She brought home this guy who she had been seeing, not like some random guy. He was from the Netherlands. Ooh. And he brought stroopwafel. And I had to have dinner with this guy I hadn't met. And they were all, being nice to each other. And I was all teenage and angsty. And I was like, I don't like this. I remember that night going for a snack. And I ate all the stroopwafels he brought.
Oh, wow. What did he think of that?
He was good. He didn't stay. He was only there for the dinner. But,
I see.
I ate them all, and so when you whipped out that bag of stroopwafels, I was like, "Oh boy, here we go!" But they're delicious. I love them.
They are very good, and it's funny that when I even look up stroopwafel online.
Wait, what happened to me is on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I see that there's an incident at the Dakin household. No, the package that they're showing as the example is this Daleman's that we're eating. So look for Daleman's if you want your stroopwafel fix. So that was my treat that I wanted to share with you, Fred, is my show and tell.
I like it. It's very much a holiday treat. I don't think I'm eating stroopwafel in the summer. I mean, you kind of get that with like a waffle cone, like a low key seasonal treat.
Indeed, I was kind of thinking about maybe making it with some tea as a per suggestion, but with some wine, it's actually not too bad.
I actually thought that the minute I took a bite of that stroopwafel, which we'll say now, a little recommendation out there: if you want some holiday spirit in a bottle. You can grab yourself what we're sipping on, the Hallmark Channel Sauvignon Blanc, which has a nice picture of a snowman. Mm-hmm. It's not too expensive, and it's very serviceable white wine. It's better than like anything that comes in those big bottles of white wine, but it's not quite some fancy stuff. I think it's right in the middle. I feel this is like a good house wine at like a decent restaurant.
I'll definitely agree with that because like it's got some decent tannins on it, and usually you don't get that with cheap wine. So I'll give it up for the Hallmark Channel for coming through here today.
And you just came from like the upper West Coast, so I feel like you know your wine. You've had a little good wine recently.
Yeah, we dabbled a little bit in some decent wine, and we had the joy of going down to Sonoma last year, and that was a wonderful time where we actually really got to see a lot of the vineyards up close. Definitely want to go back someday because, boy, if you think you don't ever want to get into wine or you have doubts about wine, I would go out to Napa, Sonoma. Seriously, just make a little trip, even if you're just in San Francisco or Sacramento. It'll change your life a little bit.
It's got great scenery, great food, and great charcuterie snacks.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you don't drink wine, you could go and just take in the views and have some nice snacks.
The cheese is outstanding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, great call. Great call. Mm-hmm. So what else you got in your bag of treats there, Fred?
You guys ready to get a little weird?
Uh-oh. I don't know what Fred's about to pull out, but
the holidays are kind of known for the flavors of peppermint and peppermint mocha.
Ooh.
But have you ever heard of peppermint mocha blue diamond almonds? Oh. Peppermint cocoa, but same deal, right?
I guess. So it's like chocolate covered?
I have no
almonds?
idea. These are peppermint mocha flavored almonds. This is the company that makes the wasabi almonds.
Oh, interesting.
Blue Diamond, if you're listening, I eat wasabi almonds all the time. That's probably in my top 3 of snacks.
Interesting. I do like a good nut. So when we're talking almonds,
Tom likes a good nut. Sorry. This was funny to me.
You could just call me a nutcracker after that joke. Looks good, Fred.
They're very mild here. Don't you get in there?
Yeah, it's very interesting to take a look at them because they do look chocolatey.
I'm not getting any of the peppermint.
Oh, weird.
But maybe that was just the one I had.
I'm gonna kind of dig in a little bit. Maybe get one that's a little more towards the center.
I wasn't making a joke there.
I get a hint of peppermint.
A hint. That's because you got deep down in there.
I guess. A little disappointing.
They're
kind of honest.
They're like a I'm doing air quotes healthy chocolate covered nut. That's what the vibe I get from it.
I would eat that not knowing it's peppermint and be like, oh, that's a good kind of light cocoa almond, and it's tasty. But if you're promising me peppermint mocha, I'd be like, I want my mocha. I want my peppermint, really.
Yeah, I kind of want that. I was afraid of it, but when it wasn't there, I was also afraid.
Yeah. Well, that was a good ad there, Fred. I appreciate that one.
So, I feel we're going to get what we were lacking from the last item, because this is also a peppermint chocolate vibe. And I got these actually from my mother-in-law from St. Nick.
Oh.
If that makes sense. Holiday I wasn't familiar with until starting to date my wife.
Oh.
Peppermint Crunch Junior Mints. I don't know how you guys feel about Junior Mints.
I love Junior Mints.
Why don't you start it off then? Yeah, the Junior Mint made famous by the Seinfeld episode.
Yes, the Seinfeld episode, because then you drop it in the open surgery.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like somebody was telling me once upon a time, and you guys can either nod or shake your head at this, but that St. Nick is kind of a Wisconsin thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I elect to speak.
Okay, so that's interesting. Because Junior Mints are minty already, obviously. Again, I kind of don't know that I get the peppermint. I feel like I'm eating a Junior Mint with a little extra crunch.
And it's kind of whack. But I'm going to leave these with you because they just taste like Junior Mints. I'm sure you'll enjoy them.
Do you not really like Junior Mints at all?
If I'm going to eat candy and sugar and chocolate, it's not going to be like that. It's kind of because that's got to be just as bad for you as some Butterfinger BBs or something. Yeah, those don't exist anymore.
I suppose that's fair. That's fair.
So it's if you like them, they're worth it. But it's at the end of the day, I'd rather get a box of. I really like Milk Duds.
Oh man!
If we're talking the box,
sure. No, I think that's a pretty good box candy. That used to be mine, and then I just kept getting stuck to my teeth, and I couldn't handle them anymore. Mm-hmm. But that is a very good show and tell, I think, here today, Fred, between the 4 items we have. So I know you have maybe one other potential surprise, but I don't want to hold off if that's what.
No, I've got a surprise, and I'm ready to show it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
holidays is a great time for baking and other treats like that. I know my family, we did a lot of cooking, and I will say this December I lost my grandmother, so I made one of her recipes, and it turned out pretty good, I think. And I picked up this tin today. It's like a truck with a Christmas tree on the back.
Oh, wow.
So it's real. I made... They all kind of shifted to one side. I made peanut butter fudge.
Oh, wow.
Now, it's very rich, so you're welcome to take a whole one, eat up, if you guys want a whole one, split one, but these are for you guys anyway. Sorry, they all kind of went to one side.
Very sweet of you, Fred. I appreciate that. That, sir, is fantastic.
Yeah, and 0 calories, too. No, not at all.
Oh,
Your face.
I was like, I'm eating that all the night.
This is definitely a hefty load, but it's delicious. That's what the holidays are about, though. You eat the thing that is pretty intense. Because I'll lift the veil here. It's mostly peanut butter and marshmallow fluff. But man, it's good stuff. You can
taste it, but still, that is very good. Very good. Man, there's nothing that beats a home baked snack. And unfortunately, I did not get a chance to bake of my own this year.
No. I'll say I definitely threw out some crazy expectations for this episode, and I was very willing to cover the ground on the treats.
Well, thank you very much, Fred, for sharing that, and obviously pour one out for your grandmother.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I felt this was a good way to honor by making like one of the treats that she was kind of known for. That's like in her top 3 of things she was always gonna make.
That is good, because I feel like even in my family, I don't know that we have a signature dessert. I think the closest thing we've come to is that, like, my grandmother, well, it's not even like something she makes. She buys Italian cookies, and she swears by them because she is very Italian. Well, Sicilian, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say she's Italian. I would be cursed out by all the White Lotus Season 2 fans and Sicilians out there. But it's definitely something we've come to expect with some coffee on Christmas, and something that I know Jasmine will get to enjoy this year. So
Nice. Yeah, we have, what's the bakery by me on
Creeks?
No, not Krieg's. The one by the Euro stand that does the hot hammer rolls that has the line out the door.
Creeks Lakeside Bakery?
Is that Krieg's?
Yes.
Yeah, that place. Anyway, they have they have a bunch of Italian cookies, but they have this signature Italian cookie that's like green and red.
Yes.
It's very almondy. So Ashley went there to get something for her mom the other day, and I was like, they got those cookies. I want a couple. And she came home with 6 of those. And it was just like, oh.
'Cause I think it's either raspberry or strawberry and like spumoni.
Something like that. Like, I just mostly, the almond's so strong in it that's kind of the flavor I take home. But like, it's, oh my God. I love it. I love Italian cookies. I think I brought them that one time to the baseball game we all went to, just because I think that's a cool move to show up to like a gathering or party with like the nice store-bought like mix of Italian cookies.
Well, and I think that's the best part about an Italian cookie too, is that there isn't just one. There's like a whole little bunch of them, and they're so light and like fluffy that like you can pretty much take them everywhere and just kind of eat them and kind of pick whichever one looks good to you. So Fred, I'll make sure to get you some fine Italian cookies for Christmas, now that I know that you like them that much.
Oh yeah, I'm all about it. Yeah, my family would make, like, it was a thing where they would make dozens and dozens of different types of cookies, all different types, and then they would have these big tins of them that they would separate and break down. And, when they would go to different people's houses, they'd bring, like that tin I gave you, just like full. And that was kind of like a gift for like kind of extended family. And I just know, like, I kind of miss this because we don't have this as much, but just like getting a plate, going over to the like area where there's like all sorts of tins, like popcorn tins full of chocolate chip cookies, like all these different things, and just making like a little plate of all these holiday cookies, pouring some milk, and then going and throwing on like a holiday movie. Like, That to me, like that's heaven right there.
That's the sweet spot, if you will.
Ooh.
And truly, what I enjoy the most too is just that there are like no one sold like holiday cookie. There's no like one sold holiday meal. Everybody does something different. You're talking about hot ham and rolls. That's a very Wisconsin thing. Yeah, and then you have other parts of the country. It's like cornbread. Like they got to have that as their side at Thanksgiving or other holidays. And it's like it's great that everybody has their own local flavors. If you go to Mexico, right, it's like mole, right, that you sometimes have around the holidays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this year we're actually trying something different with my family. I think, don't quote me on this, this might change, but my mom and I are talking about, I've been messing around with like pulled chicken or pulled pork like in the Instapot for like tacos.
Yeah.
And we may do like kind of like a fusion thing where I might make like jerk tacos and Hawaiian tacos, like have two choices. And we might do that instead of like, we're very like basic where we do like the roast meat with the potatoes, which is like, I love that. But I was sending my mom the options and she kind of was interested in the taco idea. And I was like, that's fun to kind of mix it up.
I do like that. Yeah. And I mean, we're even doing that this year. We're very much always like have ham on Christmas, but this year it's going to be beef tenderloin, and we're going to cut up some tenderloin and make sandwiches out of that. And so I'm very excited. And my dad always gets into that because he'll just fire up the slow cooker, and my mom will tag team some very good just kind of sandwich plates, and it always hits the spot, really. Yeah,
the one thing we always make sure that we do for Christmas Eve, it's strictly appetizers, which I think I've even said on the podcast, my favorite food is appetizers. Like, that's my answer. Like when people are like, what's your favorite food? I just say appetizers. And one thing that we always have are their sausage oyster bundles. Because in Maryland, it's a lot easier just to get a jar of like oysters versus like a can of them. Like they're in the frozen, not the frozen, but like the fish section. You get them out of the ice. And it's just hot sausage, cheese, and oysters wrapped in like a puff pastry.
Ooh.
And it's just dynamite. That, and I'd say the chocolate bacon wrapped dates with the goat cheese inside.
Whoa.
Those are the two things that are a pain in the asses to make, but we like, that's what we want. And then I guess like the last food thing I'd say is quiches are huge at our Christmases.
Quiche, I don't have enough quiche around the holidays, but I'll always eat a good quiche. We ate good quiches in San Francisco. I mean, you can't find any shortage of good food out there regardless. But, even something that, I'll keep thinking about, even though I don't know that I've had the best one yet, but just having like a sourdough bread, like even like a bread bowl with like some soup in it around the holidays. Just something very warming and satisfying and just hearty about that. And, just like any kind of soup you can get your hands on.
Yeah, I love a good soup.
Good chili. It's good chili season, too.
For sure.
So that will probably bring us to the end of our highlight segment. So as we follow our normal tradition, we get into our coulda, woulda, shoulda.
So I thought for this, we could do something fun, because we're always talking about what could happen or should happen or would happen. But what if we were in the bigwig seats? What if we were making the decisions in Tinseltown about the next holiday project? So I thought, what if we could pitch some like holiday movie ideas? And I thought I could kick it off with one.
Okay.
I'd like to get another Krampus movie. I like the Krampus movie we got, but I feel there's more to that. Everyone knows I like the spooky stuff. But I'd love to see is Robert Eggers' Krampus movie with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh my gosh.
Someone go down to that shoe shop and knock on that door and get his cobbling ass out here and tell him we've got a role of a lifetime. It's called Krampus.
Is that what Daniel Day's doing now? Is he cobbling?
Yeah, he cobbles shoes in like Italy or something, or France.
On. That does seem like a very double D thing to do, or triple D.
Yeah.
Double DL? Yeah.
Dan's a weird dude. But like then you gotta have like Willem Dafoe as Santa Claus.
Yep. Anya Taylor-Joy as an elf.
Yeah, he's got his people he likes.
Yeah, exactly. That could be pretty fun, especially because it has the Robert Eggers vision to it. And I just imagine it looking like the lighthouse, where you just have like a lot of like dark, shadowy backgrounds, and like Krampus is kind of like creeping around corners. So, yeah, for those who don't know who Krampus is, he is what, the German, like...
I believe so.
Krampus, he's like a German kind of demon?
Something like that. All I know is that if there's the bad girls and boys, he throws them in a sack and he steals them.
Interesting. Yeah, Krampus is a horned anthropomorphic figure in Central and Eastern Alpine folklore of Europe. So he scares the children who have misbehaved, assisting St. Nicholas, better known as Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, man.
Santa Claus, man. We'll get to some Elvis, but yeah, I
hope that was an Austin Butler sketch on when he was on SNL. I'm Santa Claus, man.
I'm Santa Claus.
No, it would be a really. I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it's a really missed opportunity if they didn't bring Nicolas Cage back for Tiny Elvis.
Oh my!
And they did a Tiny Elvis and Tiny Elvis Butler.
That'd be good.
All right, but back to Krampus.
Well, I mean, listen, anybody who can do a good Elvis, you got to do it. But yeah, Krampus, thought to come from either Bavarian, meaning dead, or rotten from the German language. So actually, that makes sense. As I found out recently, I'm Bavarian. So yeah, just a smidge.
Now, did you see the Krampus movie that came out like 5 years ago or so?
I have not. Most of my exposure to Krampus was through maybe just internet searching, I think.
I would say so. Did you ever watch the Trick or Treat movie?
Yes.
It's the same guy, and I believe he wrote it and directed it. And it's very much a Goonies Joe Dante like pastiche. Like he's hitting those notes. It's like a dark comedy, and it's got some good horror moments. It's not like an A, but it's a B, and a B Christmas movie is an A. So like I would recommend it. That I'll watch Scrooge. You can watch Krampus. I think Krampus is streaming on something right now. I know Scrooge is.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think that probably falls down my alley though, if it's going to be a little like Christmas horror, which I haven't gotten a lot into. There's that famous clip that went around like back in like the earlier days of the internet of like Garbage Day from like it's like Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never seen any of those kind of like horror Santa movies.
I watched more of that movie than I wish I did, but it's all good. I'm going to put on my Santa hat, even though the listeners can't see. I'm getting into the spirit of the season here.
And he's picking up a knife too.
Have you been a bad little boy, Fred?
No, that had no interest for me, even as an adult. Now I'm like, I don't need to see Santa that way. Like, Santa can be a character in a horror thing, but you can't make him the horror thing. He's a good dude.
Yeah, well, you have like a lot of action movies though, based around like Santa though. Like we have that new David Harbour movie,
Violent Night.
Yep, which does kind of look fun. It's almost kind of like that maybe John Wick meets Christmas.
And I haven't heard bad things and I haven't heard good things, so I'm intrigued because I thought I would have heard like bad reviews if it was bad.
That's one where it's like when it comes to streaming, I'll probably throw it on at some point and see what it's all about. I feel like the one thing that I really haven't seen in a Christmas movie, and we've seen a lot of comedies, we've seen family feel-good movies, we've seen horror, we've seen, like really fantastical things like the Nutcracker and all that, and musicals. Where's my sci-fi? Where's my Christmas sci-fi? And
he's not talking about Life Day, people.
No, this is because that's not Christmas. That may be the Star Wars Holiday Special, which this already has to have cleared the bar of the Star Wars Holiday Special. But as we talked about, on our last episode, Battlestar Galactica, which at the time of this recording was our last episode, but that was a very unfortunate, but also very fortunate years later, a TV special that George Lucas wished never got made. And I can't get through enough things to say that, the Star Wars Holiday Special 2 would be a wonderful, wonderful adventure. Because we did have the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and I thought it was fine. I
I
enjoyed
liked it. I liked it a lot.
You did like it a lot?
I did. I'm a softie.
I like the Kevin Bacon parts. Everything with Kevin Bacon really resonated because I just like Kevin Bacon in general.
I like that they got like a Bacon Brothers jam in there.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like his like stipulation for me. It was like, I'm gonna play a song.
Yep. Yeah, let me play a song, Jim. Come on.
You know what I did watch this year, which I had never seen, was the Garfield Christmas special. I don't
Okay.
know if you've ever seen that. Mm-hmm. Did you ever watch like the animated like Garfield?
Oh, sure.
Oh man, I had never really got I had seen a little bit here and there when I was a kid, but this Christmas special was wild because it's like pretty goofy. It's just a lot of him doing his Garfield business, but they go to like John's family's house, and there's like a grandma, and the grandma at one point says that she's like not gonna eat anymore because she's eating for two, and I'm like, Grandma pregnant? What's going on? And later in the episode, she's like, come on, Garfield, sit on my lap. And Garfield goes over, and it's this nice moment, and he's being very out of character, being nice to this old lady. And she all of a sudden's like, Christmas hasn't been the same since my husband died.
Oh, gosh.
He died in the war. And this thing goes for like a minute 30. She has a straight up like monologue about losing her husband. And that's why she was eating for two.
Oh, my gosh.
And
I vaguely remember this holiday special, though.
And I like to think that I developed a pretty good cartoon Garfield impression.
Okay.
Because like there was a song where it was like John was singing about like all the things he likes in Christmas, and then like Garfield was saying shitty things about it. Like John would be like hanging up the tree, and Garfield's like gardening. And it's like putting up the lights, electrical contracting. I just feel the key is just like, it's kind of like a Canadian Bill Murray voice, which is funny that like Bill Murray played him later.
Yeah.
I don't know, Odie. Like, it's Christmas time. And there's lasagna and John. Like,
Is Garfield, he's voiced by somebody familiar, though, right? Is it Jim Cummings? It's not him.
no, this I can't think of his name right now. But what's crazy about him, I learned, is he did the voice of Bill Murray's character in the animated Ghostbusters, as well as Garfield.
Okay.
He got fired because they said he didn't sound too much. He sounded either too much like Bill Murray or not enough, and they hired Dave Coulier to replace him, and he does like a really like Dave Coulier Bill Murray impression.
Right.
And then later, who plays Garfield?
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Which is another reason to watch Scrooged, because you got Bill Murray. I'd say Bill Murray and Scrooged is kind of the closest thing we have to like a modern commentary about like high like corporate business and media like coming face to face with like Christmas Carol, and like it's like kind of a comeuppance of like those media moguls are just too much, and it almost would be kind of fun to see a redone version of A Christmas Carol in modern day now, because I mean Scrooge took place in 1988. That's 40 years ago now, so almost 45.
Well, we'll talk about the definitive Christmas carols later in our episode. But but I want to circle back to your coulda, woulda, shoulda with the sci-fi thing. Now, do you have any like idea of what that looks like? Because I feel the issue with sci-fi is, and what the Guardians of the Galaxy does is you have a character who's from Earth who has a special relationship with Christmas.
Yep.
How do you do that with sci-fi? I'm not saying you can't. It's like that's something that you got to work with and make interesting.
Well,
right?
so here's my thought here, Fred, because there's two other properties that I felt have done sci-fi and Christmas, and that was Futurama. They had a whole thing about how they developed a robot Santa Claus that would come and try to hunt down people on Christmas Day, and so it became more of a kind of like a Die Hard type situation. And then you also have Doctor Who, which we covered on the podcast, and we talked about how famous and traditional the Doctor Who holiday special is, and how the Doctor travels through time. But something that I thought would be interesting is like, what if you tried to imagine a society that was like 200 years from now, and maybe it was kind of like in that like Futurama spec of like it's far enough in the future where like what does Christmas become? How does it resonate over time? And do the traditions change, and it's almost like Christmas 2525 or something like that, and you just kind of see like how the traditions have gotten passed down and what it's become. And it's like maybe we like shoot presents out of a cannon at people's houses now, or something like that. And I don't know what it all becomes. I don't know what the plot of that movie is, but I could just see it being very kind of RoboCop meets Christmas.
Couldn't it like a I love a Verhoeven Christmas. And just, that could be the title of it.
It's almost just like Starship Troopers.
I think the opening of your movie could start with Santa sends out a tweet. He says, "Should I step down? Answer this question in the poll. I will follow this poll." And that could be like your catalyst.
Man. That sounds so familiar, Fred. That's going to date this episode so much.
No, it's going to be good.
It's going to predicate. People are going to be like, Musk stepped down like 2 years ago.
Yeah, he started Gadgetry. That's the new social media. I don't know.
Gadgetry. He'd come up with something even dumber. It's almost
Gadgetry's kind of good. You should probably cut that out.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Save that.
You don't want to give away free ideas here, Fred. People will take them and run. So I think I like that, though, where you have kind of like Santa's Online. I don't know. We really haven't seen that, have we? Like, is the Santa Claus series the new one?
So I've watched all the Santa Claus series.
Of course you have.
And that show is wild. It's kind of like Yellowstone, where I'm not sure whether it's a conservative show or a liberal show. Because it's like, oh, you're going to have, what's his name? Kumar from Harold and Kumar. I can't think of his name right now.
Oh, Cal Penn.
Cal Penn. You're going to have him take over as Santa Claus, and he's going to be like this tech billionaire guy. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's a progressive look of having like a person of color taking over Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's literally a line where like Tim Allen as Santa Claus is doing like his Tim Allen thing where he asks his like conservative questions like, why don't people say Merry Christmas anymore? I think he says people say Happy Holidays now instead of Merry Christmas. That's in the Disney Plus Santa Claus show.
Yeah, because Disney wants to know that there's no war on Christmas. We got to be happy about these things. My gosh.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. Tim Allen's coming to Milwaukee, and I'm like, man, when I was a kid, I would have been all over that. But now I'm like, that sounds awful.
Yeah, I'm just kind of very lethargic on Tim Allen in general.
It was good to see David Krumholtz back, though. Krumholtz came back.
I do like that Krumholtz actually kind of stayed in the ether through that movie. I know he like eats it up too. He kind of gets into it for the fans.
I will always recommend, my favorite thing was when David Krumholtz went on the George Lucas talk show and they kept talking about numbers to him, and he just like had this look in his eye, like I think he knew, like, and he was playing along, but like, and they kept calling it num-threers because the 3 is like the R or something.
Oh gosh.
So like when you were in num-threers, and it's just like, it's a lot. I think I sent it to you and I was like, it's like in Dumb and Dumber where they're like annoying the like hitman in the middle. Yeah. Like that's what it feels like.
Oh my god, that's funny though. He really hasn't done it much. So wait, so he and Cal Penn are in that?
Yes.
Did they get the other half of like the guys from Harold and Kumar?
I wish, which I gotta say, I like that as a Christmas movie. It's really dumb, but I think that's probably it's definitely better than 2 is the Harold and Kumar Christmas because Danny Trejo's in it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Man, anything with Trejo, he just makes it work. I'm gonna take off this Santa hat because I just discovered like a nail sticking out of it, and I don't know.
Was that a nail? It looked like a toothpick.
I don't know. It was like I think it was something that's supposed to kind of like give the hat structure so that it doesn't bend over, but it started poking through, and I'm like, what is this rod in my hat? And I'm like, oh, because this was actually so my past life, Fred, and my work is I worked for a branded merchandise company, and we sold Santa hats with the McDonald's logo on the front. So even though this says something like Kenzie Center's Santa Workshop, but this was just a spec for some hats that they could wear in McDonald's.
You know how much of like a Hallmark movie character you sound like when you say that? Like, we print hats that make Santa hats with McDonald's writing on it.
Listen, I can't say that I wasn't that guy, but it was something similar to that.
How can
type
we
of story.
streamline Christmas, okay?
It'd be like a Tom Hanks character, right? In like one of the Nora Ephron movies. I'm like, so what do you do for a living? Well, I work in branded merchandise. It's good. And I don't think that's a good Tom Hanks. But
Yeah, it's fine.
no, he's more down. He's kind of like, he's just doing his Tom Hanks thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to do some listening. I feel like I like his animated Woody voice, but I can't hear it right now. Next time.
You are right. As we're talking like Tim Allen, that's Tim Allen's a little more. I don't know.
That was pretty good right there. It's not that I want to say racial slurs. I just want to have the ability to. Don't want it to be wrong.
How come people don't say Merry Christmas? It's just funny. So that's the movie, though. It's a sci-fi version of Christmas.
I like it, but you said Nora Ephron. I would love a Nancy Myers or a Nora Ephron Christmas movie, like pretty much a Hallmark movie, but like if like Fincher made it, like not actual Fincher, but like someone at that level. It's like the James Cameron Hallmark movie.
Oh, that would be kind of interesting. Oh, we talk about the James Cameron.
Oh God!
Imagine James
a Navi
Cameron.
Christmas.
A Navi Christmas.
Feliz Navidad.
Could you imagine Avatar 4 being like just a holiday
It's
movie?
a holiday movie. Fuck you.
See, there you go. Jake Sully can tell all the Navi about Christmas. Yep. There's this holiday back where I came from. Dad, what is it? Sometimes the accents are there, sometimes they're gone.
Oh gosh.
That'd be fun. But I do appreciate that. I appreciate the idea of James Cameron doing some kind of sci-fi holiday movie that is just bigger than big. Like almost like there's like that old movie called Santa Claus the Movie, and it was supposed to kind of be like sort of like this like I don't even know what it was. It was like this weird comedy that didn't
Dudley
work.
Moore, right?
Yeah.
John Carpenter almost directed that.
Really? That would have probably been infinitely more interesting than what it
John
was.
Carpenter holiday movie. I'm here for it.
Now there's your horror movie if you want that.
Like-
Not Robert Eggers.
Who's the dad in Nope? That actor, and he's in the thing.
David Keith?
Yeah, a David Keith Santa Claus movie by John Carpenter. Keith David.
Yeah.
Why do you get my name wrong? The man with the best voice, him as Santa Claus.
Oh my gosh.
A John Carpenter, like, could you imagine just like cuts of like Santa Claus on a sleigh and then cut to black with like the opening credits and then the cut again?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That actually would be pretty fun. Yeah, you just have like the synthesizers, in the background. Like Carol of the Bells, like.
Yeah. Oh, I would love just give me that as an album and I'll be happy. Like the John Carpenter Christmas album.
That would be pretty fantastic. So, Fred, as we reach maybe not quite the end of our episode, but we had some big plans for power rankings this week. And I know you had suggested some very interesting ideas for power rankings this week. So, would you like to share your topics and set us off on our path?
Well, my interesting ideas were top 3 movies and top 3 Christmas songs. I was like, I loved how you buttered me up so much, but I feel like I couldn't fall through. But
So maybe we should start with songs just to give a little break from the movie train.
I like it.
Yeah.
Why don't you start us off with songs? Tell us about your Christmas music tastes.
So my Christmas music tastes, it's a little older, but not that old. Because I think, so some background. Growing up, my mother is a songbird. And that's the best compliment and maybe just kind of picture in your head I can give you of her. So she will sing while she's doing chores around the house or cooking or anything that she would be doing. She always had a song in her head and she would sing it out loud, which I took as part of my personality too. So I owe all of that singing piece to her. And one thing that she certainly loved growing up were holiday songs and Christmas music, especially around the holidays. As soon as Thanksgiving was over, she was throwing in her Luther Vandross CD, holiday CD.
Hell yeah.
And there are songs that I know by Luther that I'm sure people don't even know. But there is a couple songs that she would play over and over from like the Carpenters' Christmas album, and I just kind of heard it all. So I heard all this era of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and then the early aughts, and all that music came together. But if there's one that I could definitely say I did listen to more than anything growing up was Son of the King.
Oh.
And she wouldn't even have to play it. You understand?
That was pretty good. That was like a very Austin Butler Elvis. I liked it.
Wasn't even trying for that. I still haven't even seen that new Elvis movie.
Dude, what are you doing with your life? You got to turn up the subwoofer and throw that shit on. To know whether you want to watch the Elvis movie, you need to watch the first 2 minutes of it, and you'll know whether you want to watch that.
I just need Tom Hanks in that German accent. That's what I want most. But I've always kind of been a fan of Elvis growing up. I remember my parents would share the story that like I would always say my favorite two bands when I was a kid was Elvis Presley and the Beatles. And I couldn't have named maybe more than one song by either of them. But Elvis's "Here Comes Santa Claus" is just a classic for me that always kind of gets, because he adds a little extra something to it. You know, it's not just like "Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane." It's like "Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane."
Ooh.
You know, it's got like a little extra sauce on it. You know, and like you're like, oh yeah.
That's how I feel when I listen to "Don't Be Cruel."
Oh. Don't be cruel.
Is that where he says, "I'm itching like a man on a fuzzy tree"?
No, that's
Oh fuck, that's definitely
I'm all
not-
shook up.
Yeah, I'm all shook. All shook up is the one that gets me like that, because it's got the "Well, oh, bless my soul, what's wrong with me? Yeah, I'm itching like a man on a fuzzy tree."
Who can you blame when you have such a luck? I'm in love. I'm all shook up. Oh. We're just gonna do Elvis impressions the rest of this. It is like completely like there's Zoomers out there right now. Like, who's Elvis? You talking about like Elvis, the guy in my art class? So
Benedict Cumberbatch is the Grinch.
I feel like we grew up though with the animated Grinch, so there's that. This is a number 2 for me. I said the other band that I loved growing up were the Beatles, and the Beatles notably had some very good solo careers too. And one song that I think really started to hit me more later in life, after I really went through my Beatles phase in like college and started listening to a lot of their solo stuff, was John Lennon and his song "Happy Christmas." And it's not a reflection of, you know, who John Lennon was as a person, because it's very controversial, I think, and how hypocritical he was talking about peace and being kind of a piece of shit back home. But
Peace, more like piece of shit.
yeah, exactly. But it was "Happy Christmas" though that I think kind of like started to hit me, and I'm like, man, I was like, I can actually kind of get all the themes now. I understand what the song's about a little bit more, and I couldn't imagine listening to that, whatever that was, like late in the 60s, or I think it was maybe even like the early 70s that it was.
It's got to be 70s.
I mean, I'm just curious if it was like right after. Okay, so it was 1971. So that makes sense.
Oh wow, I would have guessed late, like 76.
So right as we're about to pull out of Vietnam. So, which, there you go. War is over.
If you want it to be.
If you want it. So that's number 2 for me. I just love it. And then one thing I know everybody dreads every year.
You know where he got the idea for that song, though?
Oh, go for it.
Forrest Gump. No possessions.
No religion, too. I'm just looking to have a happy Christmas this year. So, one thing everybody, like, just, you know, is looking out for every year, because it's like that's when they know the Christmas season gets in. First, when you get Mariah, and the second thing is when you get whammed. I look forward to getting whammed every year. I love that Last Christmas, and I felt like once I really started to hit after that phase, you know, in college and getting into like George Michael and Wham, you know, and then I heard that and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, this is kind of a bop, and I don't know, I just enjoy it. I know these song picks might be a little controversial. Some people are like, I hear that all the time, but you know what? I enjoy the Wham. I'm just here to get whammed.
Wham bam, thank you.
How about you, Fred? What are your top picks for your best songs?
So I definitely didn't keep in mind of like the thought of like best Christmas songs of all time, because I think with Christmas songs, movies, any of it stuff, it kind of ebbs and flows with your age and just the stuff you're living in a song. And you want to talk about controversial songs, I'm going to start out with a humdinger.
Oh.
And I want to get the full title right. Fairy Tale of New York by the Pogues.
I'm not familiar with that melody.
Okay. Do a little. They opened the Guardians.
It was Christmas Eve.
Oh, yeah.
And the drunk
So that's the Pogues, huh?
Yes. And I will say, so when I first heard this song, I heard it on the radio and I liked it a lot. So I decided, I'm going to add this to my holiday playlist. Now, I will let people know that when you add the song to your playlist unedited, there's a moment in it where they use a homophobic slur.
Oh.
And I did not know about it, but fell in love with the song. And it's been kind of a thing where, like, the edited version has become more of the popular version. Like I said, it was in the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. So it's definitely a song that I'm like, ugh, I hate that about it. But it is a song, when I hear it, it kind of hits that, like, sad Christmas thing that I do like to get into. Like, I think I have pretty happy Christmases. But there is something about, like, the melancholy of Christmas that's kind of attractive.
All right. I can get down with
So that song, I'll say I like the edited version of that song.
Sure.
Does not age well. It's like a John Hughes movie.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. I see,
You
I
see
see
it?
now what it is. Well, because I was thinking about it, because if it was a homophobic slur, and obviously there's one big one, I know that has a different connotation in the United Kingdom, where it's like referring to like a cigarette, but that's clearly not what they're referring
No,
to.
and the song is about, like, this is what I heard. It's about, like, heroin junkies in the 70s in New York.
Oh, sure.
So it's kind of like, it's kind of going in, I guess, the patois of, like, these people, like, being kind of using guttural language, but it's still not acceptable for me.
Yeah.
So I always throw on the edited version, because also it kind of has, like, that Flogging Molly. It's like proto Flogging Molly, which is the Pogues, pretty much.
Well, I would even say, though, the lead singer, and maybe this is what I thought for a while, it sounds like Billy Idol.
He's got a little bit of that going. He's like Irish Billy Idol.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I'm looking what I ended up initially just writing down, because it does change for me. I'll throw these, and I'll have an honorable mention, I think.
Okay.
For like a throwback, I really like, it's just called Christmas by Darlene Love. That's the Christmas, the snow's falling down, Christmas, I'm watching the mouse. They're singing deck the halls, doesn't feel like Christmas at all. Yeah, I love that kind of, like, that sort of style music. That was big at my wedding, that sort of throwbacky oldies.
Yeah. It's almost kind of like, that 50s, like 60s Christmas, like rock and roll.
I think it's in Goodfellas during the Christmas scene and that too.
Makes
So
sense, yeah. So is George Harrison.
So this is the one that's kind of funky, and it's definitely very ironic that I like this song. And it goes a little something's about, it was nearly Christmas time. And this guy is shopping. He sees this little boy, and he's very excited about what he's going to buy. He's got these shoes. He's buying these Christmas shoes for his mom, who is dying.
Oh.
And the song is called Christmas Shoes. Have you not heard this song?
I feel like I would probably recognize it when you played it, but
So it's by a band called New Song, and they sound super like ballady 80s. So it's like, it was nearly Christmas time, there I stood in another line. So like when you hear it, you picture like this poison looking dude like waiting in line, and it's all about how this kid couldn't afford shoes for his mom who's on her deathbed.
wow.
First of all, buying shoes for your mom, saying. if you're one of my boys, you're getting bagged on. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just being a little cruel with this song because it's very melancholy and also very wears its heart on its sleeve.
Literally,
but
yeah.
I just remember my best man at my wedding. We used to back in the day, we'd be driving around, be Christmas time, and every time that would come on the Christmas station because when you roll around with me and it's Christmas time, the Christmas station's on, we would just blare it because it's like this 80s ballad, like a Whitesnake song or something. Like, sir, I want to buy these shoes for my mama, please. It's Christmas Eve and these shoes just her size.
That's ridiculous, but also very sad.
Yeah, it's like, what is this song? And then the whole thing is like, so I threw the money down. I just had to help him out. Like, it's about how, like, hey, there was this time I bought shoes for this kid who was trying to get them for his mom.
It's almost surprising it's not Bruce Springsteen, to be honest.
It's wannabe Bruce Springsteen. And the song ends with a choir of children singing the chorus.
Oh, gosh, I could see that. Okay, I think I recognize the song now. You've kind of sung a couple notes and a couple bars from it, but yeah, I don't know. I was close to putting The Boss on there, but there's something about Bruce Springsteen. Like, I like him. It's his talk singing that kind of drives me crazy a little bit sometimes.
Well, that's like my favorite part of the song, where he's like doing a little crowd work in the beginning of the song.
Like, everybody get into it, yeah.
Everybody been good this year?
Yeah.
That's not many. Y'all,
coming to town.
oh, you better watch out. You better not cry.
He just hollers it. But you know what? I bet he puts on a hell of a show. I would probably go see it.
Oh, I've seen Bruce.
Oh,
yeah. I saw him. I forget which, because I think it was the U.S. Cellular at the time, maybe. Mm-hmm. And it was super cool. We were like right above him. Mm-hmm. I describe it as like, like the Spider-Man meme where it's like Harry up in the balcony.
Yeah.
That's how I felt watching Bruce. I was like above him, like, look at him go.
Yeah, like, look at that man. Look at that boss have his way with the crowd.
And then, of course, I recognized that I wasn't watching the show at the time, but Sil from The Sopranos is the guitar player, which he's got his bandana, Stevie Van Zandt just rocking, and then the drummer is that other guy.
Yeah, Weinstein, right?
Yeah. So it was cool to I know those guys.
Oh my gosh. Wonderful. So, Fred, we got through our top songs here, but I know one thing we also wanted to do, as we just talked about, was the top movies that we have. And I have a little game for you in order to share my top movies this year. So it's a trivia game, if you will, based around the movies. And
The movies.
The movies. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Bring him back. I don't know, just in general. I don't know.
So I figured I'll start, and then, or maybe you should start, and then I'll go through mine, and then I can quiz you on each of the movies that I picked.
Okay, so I'm doing my movies first.
Yeah, go for it.
So again, I'm doing what's really hitting for me these days, and this also rolls into my honorable mention.
Okay.
And I'll name the movie with the little song from the middle of it.
Okay.
It's about singing songs with the choir, singing on the fire. Yes, wherever you find love, it feels like Christmas. The Muppet Christmas Carol. It is the season of the heart.
So that's a great pick because I love that movie. I didn't make my list, but I have to talk about the fact that they cut like one of the best songs and like also the saddest song in the movie.
Well, I sang the best song, but yes, one of the good songs.
Yeah. Just like, I'm like, well, you're missing the whole subplot though of like when his girlfriend leaves or his fiance. White?
Yeah, I think this is the fiance.
Okay. Yeah, and it's just like, I'm like, but then what? Are kids even getting the point? And just like, yep, and there she goes.
There's no Muppets here.
Yeah.
See, if his wife was like that big, like carpet looking dude, that'd be pretty cool.
What is his name? Snookums or
Yeah, Sweetums.
Sweetums, that's
Didn't
it.
we have to look that up on this podcast?
I think we did, actually. I can't remember his name. I think I called him Snookums then.
Snookums. Sweetums is my favorite Muppet that I don't know his name.
The love is gone.
But I love Michael Caine in that movie. I love a lot of the songs. Like, you can tell I don't know all the words. Cold wind chills you to the bone.
Yeah. My favorite thing about Michael Caine from that is he said that, like, you know, he didn't act like he was talking to Muppets. He acted like he was like performing against real people because he just couldn't feasibly do it otherwise. And I think the person who falls into that trap is Tim Curry in Muppet Treasure Island. 'Cause he's like, he realizes he's in a Muppet movie.
Well, he's part Muppet, I feel.
Yeah. Just like, listen here, you young boy.
I had a roll into my number 2 option. I had Home Alone 2 on last night.
Oh, speaking of Tim Curry, there you go.
That's why I brought that up. I think Rob Schneider is really funny in that movie. Rob Schneider's a guy who doesn't really do it for me, but he's kind of good as like the sniveling, money grubbing like guy that works there.
Yeah, right. The bellboy or whatever, or bellhop. Yeah,
he does like like the money finger thing with the gloves. It's pretty good.
It is. It's a very subtle role, and maybe that's why it works for him.
Yeah, my number 2 choice is Home Alone 1, because I think that movie just fires on cylinders. But I will say, last night watching Home Alone 2, this was the year I really felt the quality difference between the two.
Oh, sure.
Which before it was always like, when you're a kid, oh, there's just 2 Home Alone movies and they're both great. There's no more to talk about.
Right.
I still enjoy 2, but I was watching it this time, and like, there's like the scene where he's in the choir singing and they're messing with him, and I'm like, this is just not good. Like,
Right.
see, they need that James Cameron sequel approach.
It was the Force Awakens of the Home Alone universe. Basically just rehashing the first movie, but like with different little twists.
And plus, like, it's like, you know, I always give a point to a holiday movie because it's a holiday movie. I take away 3 points if Donald Trump is in your movie, okay?
Yeah.
He's like, down the hall to the left, it's the best hall you've ever seen. They clean it daily. I just want to guarantee you.
Yeah, you just almost wish somebody would come out and slug him right there and then, right?
Or they just get Christopher Plummer to replace him.
That would be. Dude, I wish that meme could have lasted so much longer, just with him being alive. But R.I.P. Christopher Plummer. Continue.
My number 3 choice. It's the oldie but goodie. It's A Wonderful Life. Like, that one's always gonna be in like the top 3 spot. I think that's the one that stays.
It's so good. It's just, I'm laughing because I'm just thinking about Jimmy Stewart. It's like, Merry Christmas, you old savings and loan.
Well, I don't know if I told you this, but Jimmy Stewart from Indiana, Pennsylvania, where my grandparents are from.
Oh, wow.
And I believe, I could have this story wrong, but it's some version of this. When my grandmother was in the hospital with my mom, Jimmy Stewart was visiting his dad who was sick.
Oh, wow.
Because Jimmy Stewart's dad owned a hardware store, and the whole thing was like, when Jimmy Stewart won his Oscar, he called his parents like, "Oh, I won the Oscar, Dad!" And I did like Don Knotts just then.
Shazam!
But I won the Oscar. What do you want me to do with it? And he's like, "Oh, well, bring it to the hardware store. We'll put it in the front window." And for the longest time, I think it was in the front window of the hardware store.
That's adorable.
So It's a Wonderful Life has deep roots in like my family, because it's like we're from that same place, and like my family doesn't sound like that, but when I hear that, there's something like that. There's something there with the voice.
Yeah, there's something there with that Jimmy Stewart.
Let me. I got it just for a second here. Let me. Hey now, I want a big one.
It's not bad. It got slipped into some Bill Clinton a little bit.
Let me tell you something. I love Christmas.
But I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I did not have sexual relations with that saxophone. I'm vegan now.
I'm vegan. Do you have any others, Fred?
No, I think I did 3 and a little honorable. Oh, I'll say this for something. I think the Jim Carrey Grinch movie is not a great movie, but I think it's too much shit. People hate on that too much. I think it's a pretty good Christmas movie.
I think it was, especially with how it was received at the time. I remember a lot of people really enjoyed it, and I liked it. It was fine.
I
It
think-
had a lot more subplot about the Grinch than I don't know if I needed, but
And it kind of was like a thing that happened in, like, it was kind of the first movie where it's like, we're going to get to know why that guy is so bad.
right.
But I think the performance is great. The makeup is amazing. He got nominated for a freaking Golden Globe in comedy and probably deserved to win because he's good and he's acting through that makeup.
He is, and he suffered a bit. He was not happy with how that makeup process went.
Because he had like a SWAT team like person, like, or a SEAL team person who was used to like intense situations, like talking him through things.
Yeah.
And I also love that movie no one really talks about, that the narrator's Anthony Hopkins. It's like around the same time Hannibal came out.
Yeah.
I want to tell you about the Grinch.
I totally forgot.
One small snowflake like the one on your sleeve, Clarice, could have some whoos.
Oh my god. That's just things that you like kind of forget as time goes on, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that's right. I mean, that's kind of what this holiday special is about. It's about nostalgia.
I'd love a Silence of the Lambs holiday special. You can't keep taking presents, Dr. Lecter.
Clarice, I just called to say happy holidays. I don't know what you celebrate, but I imagine the sheep know.
Oh, God. I like it.
So, for me this year, Fred, I chose a top 3 with a couple honorable mentions, but with each of these picks that I have, I had some holiday trivia, and I know you're fairly familiar with most holiday movies, so I want to see how good you are. I have a easy question and I have a difficult question. So you can tell me if you want the easy, the difficult, or both, however you want to do this.
We'll start with hard and get easy if I need it.
Okay. So my first honorable mention is the movie Elf, which I think now we can talk about it, is a classic in my mind. We're almost hitting 20 years. And I thought, even at the time, like about 5 years after, I was like, this is pretty much a modern classic, but needed that 10-year mark. And now I'm like, I feel confident. It's lasted. Everybody talks about it. There's pop-ups built around it. So my question then from the movie Elf, what are the 4 main food groups for elves?
It's candy, candy cane,
Yep.
candy corn,
Yep.
and syrup.
You're correct.
Yes.
That's one. Your easy question. Maybe this is the harder question. Maybe I just kind of answered it, though. What year did Elf come out?
It's either 03 or 04, right?
It is 03. I'll give that to you. That's good answers, Fred.
I remember because it was our last day in Disney, and I said, can we please go see Elf? So we went to the downtown Disney and saw Elf.
Just watching the theater.
Yes.
my
Because
God.
I was that kid.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with that, though. That's fantastic. It's a good movie. I enjoy it a lot. I think it really put a spin on what holiday movies have become. And ever since then, and I think it still has done it the best, and a lot of movies are trying to emulate it.
Good year for Christmas movies, because one that I wouldn't say is a classic, but a good movie is Bad Santa. The first one came out that
I
year.
do like that one too. So, my number 2 honorable mention here, I had to mention it because I did love it growing up, but I don't know that I would put it in my top 3 anymore, is Home Alone. So, I think this is a slam dunk. What state did Home Alone take place in?
Illinois.
You are correct. Now here's the harder one. What is the name of the movie that Kevin watches? The old classic movie with the "Keep the change, you filthy animal" line.
Is that Angels with Dirty Wings? Is that the one he watches in the Angels with Filthy Souls?
That's correct. Angels with Dirty Wings is a real movie.
Is the real movie,
Yeah,
okay.
that I think got inspired the...
Snakes. I don't know no snakes.
Snakes. I don't know snakes. Sounded like a snake.
I just love, like, good year for Pesci, Goodfellas, and Home Alone. Same year.
He was on top of the world that year. So, getting into my movie rankings then, I did go ahead and put Scrooged at number 3. It is one that I didn't watch a lot as a kid, but I found later in life, and I really enjoyed it just because, A, Bill Murray, but B, I don't know. I thought it kind of hit on all the notes of like, this is kind of a good takedown of capitalism while being a very funny movie. And I don't know how well you know even the plot of Scrooge. Do you know what it's about?
Isn't it? He's like a TV guy who they're putting on a Christmas Carol, and he has a Christmas Carol-esque. It's like loosely based on a Christmas Carol. What happens to him, right?
Yeah. So that was going to be my trivia question then, is what is the TV special that Frank's Network is producing? Thinking it would be a trick question that they are doing a Christmas Carol, but it is in fact the answer. So there was my hard question for that, and this would have to be for a really good Scrooge fan, and I'll ask all of you out here so you can get a chance to answer yourselves. So Frank has to answer a trivia question that his brother James doesn't know when he visits him with the Ghost of Christmas Present, played by Carol Kane. And so he goes to a Christmas party that his brother is at, and they're playing like Trivial Pursuit or something like that. And someone asks him the question, what's the name of the boat that took the castaways to Gilligan's Island? You might even know this answer.
It's not called the Skipper, is it? That's just a character.
Yep.
I don't know it all. I've never seen it.
The SS Minnow, Frederick James.
No, I wouldn't have gotten that.
The SS Minnow. It's a pretty good scene, but he's like screaming at him and he can't hear him, and he's like, "You idiot!"
Is it supposed to be kind of like the mirror scene of In a Christmas Carol, where it's like Fred is like they're playing like their parlor games, and they're like, "I've got an idea of a character. He's mean. He's rude." You know, is it like that? Because I feel like that's the vibe. Like, I always love that scene in A Christmas Carol. They're like all these British people trying to like fucking just talk shit about this guy, but they're British, so they're like dancing around it. They're like, "Oh, you can't be so mean, Frederick. I'm sorry. It's just the truth."
Right? Yeah, it is like that too, and I think they do kind of backtalk him because he buys his brother. He has his secretary buy his brother a towel, and like it's like that's his Christmas gift, and so he has to kind of come to terms with that. And the Coast of Christmas Present lets him have it, which is pretty great. So my number 2 then is the movie Christmas Vacation, which was one I also grew up with, and we watched a lot, and it felt like a lot of people didn't know about it for many years, and then suddenly kind of like late aughts, early 2010s, it was on TV, and people were like, "Oh, this is so funny," and everybody started watching a lot more, but I felt like we were on the cusp of that a little bit. So Christmas Vacation, though, just endlessly funny, great John Hughes written script. So 2 John Hughes, actually 3 of them now on the list, because he wrote Home Alone 2 as well, right?
He wrote, I don't know if he wrote 2, he probably did. He wrote a lot of stuff. Like, he wrote Drill Bit Taylor under a different name.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
That was like one of his last movies. Do you know who that Christopher Columbus was supposed to direct Christmas Vacation?
Yeah,
and someone, how about that for a trivia question? Who might have given him problems? Was it Jason Paladecki? I can't think of it. That's not his name.
Beverly D'Angelo? Yeah, no, obviously it was our...
Was it Steady Hand Juliette Lewis?
No, we all know it was Chevy, and Chevy is always a problem, but I think the vacation movies are one of the very few instances where Chevy is at some of his funniest, and if you can just accept the art and not how much of a dick he is. Well,
he plays the motions in those scenes, which makes it work.
Yeah, he is just, and it's mostly just because it's a goof on him almost the whole movie, right? It's like he's an idiot who just happens to like have enough disposable income to make these things happen.
But he's got that scene in the attic though, where he's really good. I will say, I think he's great in that, where he's watching the home videos and like his like wife's robe or whatever it is.
Yeah, and you got that good Ray Charles song playing. Yeah,
The Mess Around? Wrong holiday.
The Mess Around. No, it's like that song. He's like, it's like, what a wonderful feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Fred, we should record a Christmas album.
I think it'd be good.
It'd be good. That'll be next year.
Yeah. Give me a moment here.
Okay.
So speaking of a Christmas song, so I've got my old podcast buddy, Isaac. I messaged him a little while ago because I was like, it'd be nice to have a Christmas song for the episode. Hold on, I'm going through here. Okay. So he took care of my cats while I was out of town. That's just the background. So I was just getting back from Maryland. Just got back. Thanks for checking on the crew. Also, may need a new instant holiday song classic if you have time. So, if you could write one, that would be great. No pressure. Just looking for Mariah level. He says, haha, okay, I'll get right on that. Why do you need a holiday hit? I said, I don't know, might be good to never work again. I don't know. We could just coast. He's like, haha, that would be awesome. And I said, maybe something about wrapping paper. I don't know. He was like, we can work on it. And I said, I don't know. I'm more of an idea person. I don't want to do the Mariah work per se. He's like, ha ha, I'll write it, but I can't sing like Mariah. And I said, auto tuna BB, because I had some holiday drinks at that point. Yeah, I think the conversation speaks for itself.
My goodness.
So I feel like that's an accurate portrayal of what it's like to be in a like constant text with me. You're in these conversations with me.
Yeah, I do like the inside baseball on how the song that is eventually going to get written came to be. You'll hear it first about what it's about. Is it rapping? About wrapping paper? I'm gonna rap. Why do we always do like the basic like late 80s, early 90s rap? Like, my name is Tom and I'm here to serve the presents I want every day.
The presents I want every day. I like that.
Yeah, but it's never like the modern like rhythm. It's always the horrible 80s cheesy rhythm. So back to Christmas Vacation. My trivia question for you: what does Clark get in the mail for his Christmas bonus?
Jelly of the Month Club.
Yeah, that's correct. Do you want the easy question too?
Sure.
Who are the actors that play Russ and Audrey in this movie?
I already said them, right? Isn't it? It's Big Bang Theory guy. The name I keep wanting to say is not the right. I keep wanting to say the Supernatural guy, Jared Padalecki, but he has a similar name. What is that name?
It's Johnny Galecki.
Johnny Galecki. And then Juliette Lewis, right?
Correct.
I knew she was in, That's probably definitely my favorite of the kids. Definitely better than what's his name?
Oh,
Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah.
It was weird when he had that like monologue at that bar in the first Vacation.
Oh, yeah.
He was all like 20 years ago on this day, Michael Myers.
Oh, no. Don't want to think about Halloween Kills right now.
I did watch Edward Scissorhands this year, and I think he's pretty good in that.
He's in that movie? I don't even
He's
remember
the swole-ass boyfriend in that.
Oh, so that's when he was on his like, I'm not a nerd anymore phase.
But he still has like the face of like young Anthony Michael Hall, but he's like kind of a built dude. It's kind of funny.
And then he becomes like unrecognizable once he gets like thick.
Yeah, he looks like in this period he kind of looks like the Honey I Blew Up the Kid because he's got like this baby face and this big body.
That is fun. So my last movie for you, Fred, and this is my number one movie pick, is It's a Wonderful Life. It's become one that I've come to enjoy with my fiance, and we just love watching it every year now. I think we've watched it every single year since we started dating, and it just was like, if we're going to watch one holiday movie this year, it's going to be that. I did have another honorable mention too. My family grew up watching White Christmas. I still enjoy that. I would put it top 10, not top 3. So
that one I feel I've only seen like little pieces of. It's like a musical, and it's Bing Crosby and some other person.
Danny Kaye. Yeah, which great line in Christmas Vacation about that. It's like, we're gonna have the happiest Christmas as Bing Crosby dance with Danny fucking Kaye. Like, but
I need an aspirin or I need an Advil.
Where's the Tylenol?
One of those.
But It's a Wonderful Life. So your hard question here, Fred, since you now have shared what a meaningful movie this is for you and your family. What are the names of the bar that George goes to both before and after he wishes he was never born?
It's the Twin Pines Mall and then the Lone Pine Mall. I don't know. You got me. I don't know.
What?
I don't remember.
Well, J Nick, where's Martini? This is his bar.
Oh, yeah.
Martinis and Nicks. This is Nick's here. We serve hard liquor to guys who want to get drunk.
I do like the greatest horror is his wife ended up a single adult female.
She's an all right.
She's an old maid, and she's gorgeous walking down the street.
Right? And it's like she works at the library. It's like, oh, she's just a self-made woman.
She's
now.
a 29-year-old woman who's not married.
Yeah, like, oh my goodness. The priorities we had in 1940s, right? Like,
It's crazy thinking like that movie's like happening in like World War II is also like very close and happening.
Yeah. Well, in the movie, does his brother serve in the? It's not
Yeah.
World War II, is it?
I
Or
don't.
is it?
It might be the first. It's probably the first. I'm
That
guessing.
probably makes
yeah.
more sense, right? Because he's like he's a war hero and he's coming back because he's getting honored at the end, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm looking it up. It's a Wonderful Life.
I really like the part at the dance where
1946, so the war would have been. It is World War II.
I like when the pool opens up.
Oh gosh, that's so funny. They're like dancing like right close to it, where they fall in.
Yeah, like there's that great shot where they get like right up close to it, and yeah,
That's good.
The movie.
The movie.
I love the look of the city at the end where he's running like a madman. And people always like, I know like in my family, I remember taking my great-grandfather to see Castaway because they were like, well, Tom Hanks is kind of like a Jimmy Stewart. And at the time, like I was like, oh yeah, whatever. And then now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, not really. You know who I think is the closest analog to Jimmy Stewart today? Like, who gives me his vibes is Nick Cage.
Oh.
I think Nick Cage, like, especially in The Family Man, is very Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, I haven't never seen The Family Man. But
Family Man is like one that's like, I'm not going to say it's an amazing movie, but that's a good holiday watch. That and I would say is a double feature of like middling Christmas movies that are like kind of adult centric, or that and The Preacher's Wife with Denzel Washington.
Okay.
My introduction to Denzel.
that's an interesting one to get in on Denzel. Like
Right? Very un-Denzel movie, but
yeah, I think mine was still probably Training Day. That was probably what I
much better way.
That's a much better way, for sure. We are reaching the end of our episode here, though, Fred. Unfortunately, the first holiday special has to come to a conclusion so that we can get ready for the actual holidays this year and wish everybody our happy holidays. But before we do that, anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, I'll be at an Atina team on the 7th of January at the Interchange Theater. Go to the Interchange Theater website to get tickets. Tina show. You know about the Tina. The Tina's a great collection of players. So if you're in the mood for some improv theater, it's the place to check out, the Interchange Theater. We just had our holiday episode. They're doing a bunch of holiday shows, but not episode, holiday live show. And it was a great turnout. It was really fun, and it made me excited about the new year of performing. So the 7th of January.
Excellent. Well, yes, please look up the interchangetheater.com and look up Team Tina on January 7th. Fred, I actually also have a show to plug. That is not the Tina. Sorry, I don't mean to disappoint you. I will not be doing that show, but
I don't need you stealing my thunder.
yeah, obviously we want you guys to all come and support us wherever you can. But I'm going to be in a show on January 21st called Sketch 22.
Ooh.
That is hosted by the comedy troupes Schmitz and Giggles. It'll be my first foray with them. It'll be located at Comedy Sports that night. Go to Schmitz and Giggles. Look for tickets, and we'll see you on January 21st. I hope you can check out Sketch 22. If you are enjoying what you're listening to, please ask that you rate and review this show. Any of your feedback was appreciated. Please give us 5 stars. We would appreciate that as well. If you'd like to support the show, you can also donate to us at buymeacoffee.com/SOTF. We also are on all your podcasting services, or wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you're listening to us currently, as a matter of fact. We mentioned a couple social media apps earlier that we are on. We are also on Twitter. That is at SOTF Pod. That one is the SOTF Pod. I was like, I know it's one of them. It's the SOTF Pod. So at the SOTF Pod, please follow us on there. And stay tuned. We're going to be taking just another short little holiday break to actually enjoy the holidays this year, but we'll be back shortly after the new year. So in a couple weeks, you'll find us again where we'll have a whole brand new slate of episodes for the new year. We have so much exciting stuff coming up that we're really excited to share with you guys.
Yeah, we got to plan out some episodes. And if we can't think of something, I'm sure we can just wing something.
And if you're feeling like you can't just wing something, Fred, we'll just come up with something freaky fast.
I like it.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time, and happy holidays to us from State of Fringe.